What are some of the early warning signs for people that you might be having problems? Because as you explained to me one time, not every crack in a basement wall is a bad crack, right?
That's right. So I'm glad you asked that question, because it's the number one question that needs to be asked, and that is the difference between stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 foundation failure. And stage 1 is some of the simple things that you can, or excuse me, prior to even getting foundation failure, let's talk about that. Make sure your gutters and your downspouts are getting away from your house. That has got to be step 1. And when you do a landscaping bed, you need to make sure where's the water going when it's entering said landscaping bed. I just broke a customer's heart last week, Brittany. She built this retaining wall all the way around her front of her home, and when it rains, it fills up with water.
Oh.
So now she's got to install a French drain to get that water out of the landscaping bed, which now you got to take part of the wall down in order to do that. So when it comes to the downspouts, the landscaping beds, all those things, and make sure the water is sloping away from the home. Like, that's just step 1, get the water away. The next thing is, and I get it, you're not in the building process, right? You buy your house, you buy it finished. You don't know how it was built most of the time, unless you're buying a new house. But what was the backfill that was used, and what are the soil conditions around the house? Now, you'll never really know that stuff, unfortunately, until you call me or have issues.
Right.
But some of the quick signs are doors not closing correctly, windows not closing correctly, cracks in the drywall. If you have a crack that's stemming away from a window or a door, that immediately is a sign to call me, because that is when the foundation has settled, right? Now let's go to the basement. All that stuff was upstairs. But downstairs in the basement, if you have a horizontal crack, that means that there is potentially a bowing wall or even some rebar pop. So rebar pop is when they pour the foundation, they put the rebar in there, and it oxidized so much and got so rusty that it just pushed out and had the concrete actually pop off. That's why we call it rebar pop.
I've seen that.
Right? I'll send you some photos on that. Then the next one's on the diagonal cracking side. That means if you have a diagonal crack, that there's lateral pressure being pushed on the wall. Not everybody knows this, but if you do the math, you can go to ChatGPT right now and type in how much hydrostatic pressure, soil pressure is on my foundation wall. And if you have a 50-foot wall that's 8 feet deep, and it's got clay on the outside of it, it's 148,000 pounds of pressure being applied to that wall when it rains. So think about that for a minute. Like that is a severe problem. So we got to make sure the water is shifting away. So when you have a diagonal crack, that means the wall's being pushed in. Then we have a vertical crack. So going straight up and down. So if it is the same gap at the top as it is at the bottom, it could be just superficial. Well, that's what concrete does, right? It expands and contracts. If you have more than one crack on a given wall, there could be something else going on. But if that crack is wide at the top and really skinny at the bottom, that means the house is settling.
Right.
Either a corner, because concrete can't do this without an entire structure over here doing this.
You told me one time that we basically all live on top of a empty swimming pool.
That's right.
Water's trying to get in.
That's right.
Right?
We do. So think about that for a moment. Like when you build a gunite pool or a fiberglass pool or a liner pool, they're working so hard to keep all the water in. Like they don't put any thought in other than a bucket of tar on the outside of your foundation on how to keep water out. And you really don't realize this if you're from the area and you've lived here for a long time, because all of our houses have basements.
Right.
But you go across the country, or even across the world for that matter, but let's talk about the country, for instance, like Oklahoma, no basements anywhere. Tornado Alley.
And they don't have basements?
No basement.
Why?
It is because of their soil. It is so bad. They install their home, it's called slab on grade or crawl space, and they use piers. So they'll install piers, then they'll put the slab, and then they'll build their house. Down in Florida, of course, it has to do with sea level and water table. Further over in North Carolina, South Carolina, mostly crawl spaces. But we love our basements here in St. Louis. We finish our basements, we make them beautiful, and then when they flood, we get the call.
We're shocked, yeah.